I'm Chris Erdmann, and this is Made of More, the show where we go beyond business to uncover real stories that shape entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, we explore the pivotal moments, the adversity faced, the risks taken, and the resilience found along the way. This isn't just about what people have built, it's about who they've become. If you're ready for inspiration, practical insights, and stories that remind you that you too are made of more, you're in the right place. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from whenever or wherever you're listening from. I'm your host, Chris Erdmann, and you're here listening to the show Made of More. And today I have another friend of mine that I feel really lucky to have here because he is busy and he's out there doing really big things. His name is Christopher Villa, and I know him as Toph. And today we're going to talk about his journey of entrepreneurship, early life, current life, and kind of where he's going. And it's all going to kind of go around Dream DADU. And Dream DADU is his new company. And tell everybody, what does DADU stand for?
You know, it's a new, fairly new term in the housing industry for middle housing. And if that's confusing to anybody, middle housing is really passed laws in the state of Washington that are addressing affordability as well as the shortage of inventory of housing. And so what a DADU is, it's this Detached Accessory Dwelling Unit. Most people think of them as like backyard cottages.
Yeah, and which is a little different from ADUs, which is additional dwelling units, which is attached.
They're attached, yeah.
Attached dwelling units, right?
Yeah. It's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, and we're seeing like this big like explosion of like this marketing happening with all different companies, and in Washington with all these regulations that are opening up. I want to say opening up because it's opening up opportunity. We're seeing people putting anywhere from 1 to 3 DADUs on lots inside of certain city limits.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's becoming easier now. So there was 3 key House bills in the state of Washington. The first one was 1110, which I don't want to get too technical, but basically it just opened up the floodgates to add more density to properties. Then 1337 came out, which was really about how to execute that at the city level. And now they're coming out with a House Bill 1096. That's been passed, but it's not implemented in the municipalities just yet. And that House bill is really talking about lot splitting. And so these are all things that are passed by necessity. As we all know that housing is very expensive here in the Northwest. And because of that, there's a shortage of inventory. And with the pandemic and the low interest rates that happened a few years ago, people are just locking down on their properties and they're not moving along. So how do you solve that problem? And that's what we aim to do with Dream DADU.
Yeah, what a great problem to solve, I think. Commendable, and one that is going to serve a lot of people. You know, affordable housing, what a huge topic to talk about. I think that could be its own show right there.
It certainly could.
Yeah, if you could try to define affordable housing, because not a lot of people, most people or municipalities cannot do it very well. Like, how would you describe affordable housing?
Well, affordability in the traditional sense is, you know, I can afford to buy a house, which for younger millennials and Gen Z, and it's almost an impossible endeavor these days because things are so expensive. But there's other ways to carve affordable housing up, and basically what that is density. And I mentioned this earlier, is how do you increase density in a residentially zoned neighborhood where, you know, you're used to seeing, 3, 4, 5,000 square foot homes on, medium-sized lots. How do you, accommodate all the influx of workers and tech people and people that are moving to Seattle and the greater Pacific Northwest? And so, the state has recognized that affordability can be manifested in density versus pricing, because pricing is just not an option right now because we just don't have enough land to build. So, as we all know, land never depreciates. So,
yeah,
Chris, you know that well.
Yeah, I do know that after 20 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they had to kind of look at it from a different angle, through a different lens.
Well, I just got to say, as we're getting this, how passionate I am about affordable housing supporting your cause and having you on here with this because, being in real estate myself, also, we see these heartbreaking stories of like a lot of people just want to stop renting and start owning something, or people want to have solutions on how to bring in more people into the homes, and usually generational housing and whatnot is also another topic within this. And I'm so passionate about it. I just recently built a property on 8,500 square foot lot where traditionally you would only be able to fit one home on it. And, the city was really gracious in working with me because before some of these rules were rolled out, they said,
that's changed.
They said, hey, why don't they encouraged me, you could put more properties on here. So instead of doing DADUs, I did a couple ADUs, which were attached and internal to a property. So to solve some of that affordable housing. Yeah,
just something as small as, we may not think of it if we're not in the housing industry, how difficult it is to build a house. Historically, there's been long delays in doing things, parking requirements, things like that have really killed deals for developers, but also killed dreams for homeowners. And so by removing some of those roadblocks in building DADUs, detached, and ADUs, we're hoping to solve that problem. And I will tell you that, I've lived in the greater Seattle area for about 23 years now. I raised my kids here, and I look back at when we moved here versus the way it is now, and I can tell you categorically, my kids, there's no end in sight on affordability in terms of pricing. Kids today, their opportunities are, a lot of them are facing unemployment or not being able to find a job out of college, and they're just things are shifting. And
there's a big shift going on.
And so, how do you take a family? You say, a mom or dad or somebody that is aging, and accommodate them without, putting them away into a convalescent home,
right.
Or
you want to keep them close.
Yeah, I mean, they want to stay near their family, and so a great solution is for them, and we like to call that aging in place. But the great solution is to build a structure on the property, have their own living space, a separate living space than the kids, because let's face it, I have two kids. I don't want to be their roommates. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
and allow the kids to come in and, take over the primary residence and eventually, develop it or improve it, and then, also have an equity stake in it. Get set up for the future, because all paths, I mean, Chris, I'm talking to the choir here, but all paths lead to real estate. They do.
Well, I don't know of anybody that is not using real estate. Either
in our circles, that's the case.
Well, I mean, everybody, if you're breathing, you're going to be on a piece of real estate, whether you're paying for it or not.
Yeah.
If you don't own, you're renting. If you're buying something, that product was developed in a piece of real estate. So no matter how we look at it, real estate is always going to be part of the equation. But before we get into this too, because we could just keep going.
Oh, we could go all day on this. Yeah, maybe we should pivot a little bit.
Well, we're going to pivot because that's what this show is all about, is getting into you a bit more. As you're becoming an entrepreneur, or before, wherever you want to start, like what was your early beginnings in entrepreneurship? Like where did you start? Where did you have a role model?
Well, I started out as an international male dancer, but I don't want to talk about that.
How long was that? That
didn't last long.
No?
I wasn't in demand, so it wasn't very profitable.
Hopefully you were an adult.
Yeah, I was an adult.
Yeah.
No, on a serious level, I started my career out at Nordstrom, which is kind of serendipitous because Nordstrom's based here in Seattle, but I grew up in California, and I started there, and I kind of learned the tenets of great service and accountability. And, growing up in California in the 70s, I'm in my late 50s. So in the 70s and 80s, it's free range with kids. And, it was a different society. There wasn't a lot of authenticity. There was a lot of, keep it close, keep your cards close. It was a different world. And when I graduated from college, I graduated from UC Davis, I thought I would conquer the world. And it hit me hard in the 90s. The economy was a little rough, and I was in a creative field. I was in an architecture field, and
You kind of look like an architect with those glasses.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my real glasses broke, but that's okay. So I have to wear these goofy ones. But thanks for the compliment.
No, they're great.
Just raised my self-esteem a notch on that one. But so I went to work for Nordstrom, not knowing what I would do, just to collect a paycheck and figuring it out. And I worked for them a few years, and then I transitioned into the shoe business, and I was on the wholesale side. Not Nordstrom was my client. They became my client.
Oh. A fun fact on the show: Robert Spector was the author of The Nordstrom Way.
Okay,
he was a guest here. Good friend.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, you got to meet him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I've read that. You mean the Gray Book?
The Gray Book. Yeah,
yeah, that's a great book. And so, I did that, and then I transitioned over onto the sales side and kind of learned all the things. And I realized I really didn't want to be in sales, but I knew that was a necessary part of understanding my business acumen. And so, decided to take a big swing and move to Chicago, and I ended up handling Nordstrom as a national account, and I worked out of Chicago, met my wife there 25 years ago, a little over 25 years ago. We just hit our anniversary last October, so
congratulations.
I know we made it.
Yeah.
So,
when I've seen you guys together, you seem like you're thriving, like never an issue.
Thank you. Well, we're holding our cards close to our chest.
Yeah.
Just playing. She's a beautiful woman, and she's really been a great balance.
Must
for
be
me.
very forgiving.
She's very forgiving. Yeah, we could have a whole nother show on that one. But yeah, so we met there, and then I decided to get a little cocky and decided I wanted to start my own shoe company, and I failed miserably. Lost several $1 million doing that with a partner. Learned really quickly what to do and what not to do.
Wow! I would never have known you were that much of a shoe guy. Like, why'd you pick shoes, and
well,
what
I
happened?
kind of just fell into it. It wasn't something it wasn't part of my life design. I mean, but I realized ultimately that's not what I wanted to do. And so,
what's some lessons that you learned through that portion of life there?
That's a great question, Chris. Probably the biggest lesson I learned, and I think kids today have a much better perspective on this than we did, is that when you are emerging as a young adult, I think it's important to exercise some patience, and the patience, finding something that you really like doing. And I know this sounds cliche, but ultimately, if you really enjoy doing it and you enjoy getting up in the morning and you're passionate about it, you're going to make money. You're going to figure out a way to monetize that. And unfortunately, that's not the pathway I took. I took let's chase the money. And yeah, I did well, but I just wasn't happy. Yeah. And here I am, 58 years old, and I'm circling back to taking all the things that I learned. I skipped a couple of steps in telling you the story, but I've combined all that, and now I'm kind of doing what I really, really want to do.
So you kind of went full circle.
Yeah.
So you're doing something, and you were great at it, and you saw a path for money for something that you were not too passionate in. I've done that.
I think at some point a lot of us have done that
2 or 3 times.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, one story. I really like drinking coffee, and I opened up a coffee shop.
You don't have the coffee shop.
I don't have the coffee shop anymore.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's what I love about you is like I can see that, I can see it and feel it when I'm around you, and you've got that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, which is really infectious because it's one of those things where those are the people I want to hang out with.
Appreciate it. Well, that's why you're here.
It's nice to see that. It's refreshing. So,
well, let's talk about it a little bit. What a great lesson for people to learn from is, and I've had the discussion several times after my failed business, and I find that a lot of successful entrepreneurs have that story as well. It's like at some point they chased the money. It could have been about a product that they loved, but the whole process was something that they did not love. And how do you think that we can foresee that? Is there a way that we could test ourselves before we get there?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, and I think I'll give credit to. I have 2 kids. One of them's 24 and one of them's 21, and so I get their feedback a lot, whether it be good or bad. But I think that the way to kind of address that question would be authenticity. I think authenticity is something this generation, Gen Z and beyond, it seems to understand a lot better than we did. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give them a lot of credit for that. It took me a while to realize that. Just give you an example. So I just hired my first employee for Dream DADU, and we just, by the way, today is a great day. We just landed our first client.
Oh, congratulations!
So we're really excited about that. Yeah, and we, but I just hired an employee, and she's 20 years old, mm-hmm. and she has all the soft skills that I thought was important. Hard skills are one of those things that you can learn. Anybody can learn hard skills.
Mm-hmm. Define these two skills for the listeners.
Okay, so hard skill would be something like I know how to use Excel, mm-hmm. Or I know the software. Soft skills is how you communicate. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, this generation is challenged with communication. But, she seemed to have it. And so I didn't even look at her resume. She had done some cat sitting for us, which is kind of funny. And I just liked her. I loved her energy. I loved everything about her. I don't care about all that stuff, checking off the boxes. Mm-hmm. I care about her and the relationship I'm going to build with her and help her become the person that she wants to become professionally.
Sure.
So that to me was something that we just never had when we were out interviewing when we were younger. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about that authenticity. Mm-hmm. So I'm embracing that for sure.
This is a great place that we're going to pick back up on this, but authenticity. You're listening to the show, Made of More. I'm your host, Chris Erdmann, and we're sitting here with Toph Villa, or otherwise known as Christopher Villa of Dream DADU. Stay tuned for the next segment.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Tell your friends about Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to the show, Made of More. I'm your host, Chris Erdmann, and I'm sitting here with Toph Villa, or Christopher Villa, however you want to call him, or whatever you want to call him, of Dream DADU.
Well, Chris, since you've mentioned my name several times, I'll just explain it to the listeners. My name, Toph, is actually a nickname that was picked up in college. It's actually the middle of Christopher.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from. So hopefully that's not too confusing. I prefer that but you can call me Christopher or,
I'm
just not after
Christopher
midnight.
or Chris. So you're going to be Toph.
Yeah, there you go.
So we were just ending the last segment on soft skills, hard skills, and vulnerability, and how this new generation or this younger generation than us is very vulnerable. I have to agree. My daughter's part of that generation. I've seen, talk to her friends and whatnot, and work with them today because they're in their 30s and whatnot now. So I have to say that it's a skill, and I'm learning from that generation too. And it actually took me a while to recognize it.
100%. It wasn't easy to get there, but
And it makes me a better person.
certainly does.
Yeah. So that's your early beginnings. Not much for the dancing career, but but Nordstrom and the shoe company took underway. And, what some great lessons that you shared there.
And then after that, I started I worked for a little bit, and then I started a sports company, something completely different, which is also one of my passions. And I just, it's like driving a Toyota versus a Maserati. It was a great business model. I learned a lot about running a business, a large business with a lot of employees, but it just wasn't yielding the income that I really wanted to have.
What was the function of the sports company, and what was it called?
Well, the sports company was called I9 Sports, and it was a franchise. There was 100, and when I started, there was a 62 franchise. It became like over 200 franchises. We were the first in the marketplace in Pacific Northwest, and so we kind of blazed a trail. And by the time, something that I'm very proud of, by the time we sold the company in 2019, we had over 59,000 families that had participated in our program. So we basically ran leagues and tournaments, primarily flag football, basketball, and soccer.
Sounds like a lot of logistics.
It was operationally heavy.
So a lot of manpower at that time.
A lot of manpower. I think at one point I had something crazy like over 100 employees. So it was, for me, that was a learning lesson, really how to manage that appropriately. So I cut my teeth a little bit on that. And then I, jumped into the financial world.
What's something that you learned from the sports company?
Well, I learned how to communicate with folks that don't have the same communication style. So most of my employees were millennials, and I don't think Gen Z was emerging just then. But so millennials communicate differently than Gen X. And so I keep going back to the generations, but it's how we were trained and how we were raised. And so that was interesting. Also just understanding that I just really don't want to own a franchise again because I'm a little headstrong when it comes to stuff like that.
You want to do things your way.
I want to do things my way. Yeah.
And you want to have control. You want to tweak it.
You
can't necessarily color outside the box when you own a franchise.
And I don't do well when I can't color outside the box.
Yeah.
And that's just my, obsession or my, strength and opportunity at the same time. So
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So just did that and then started investing in real estate and went down the financial route and built a small business funding real estate deals and business deals. But my true passion was my real estate investing and flipping, and we flipped a great number of homes, during the heyday a few years ago. And I took those two things and combined them into Dream DADU, and Dream DADU did 100% finances. And so that's one of the things that, brings more affordability to the process as well. So that was really important. So, so that's kind of where I'm at now. And
that's great. Well, I just want to say again, congratulations. You have your first contract for a DADU.
Yep.
Where is it located?
In Renton.
Yep. Okay. Walk me through a little bit and walk us through a little bit of what this DADU looks like in this process.
Sure. Well, conceptually, we're not quite there yet, but the process of, we're going to start on feasibility, whether or not what they want aligns with what they're allowed to do on the property. Fortunately for DADUs, there's a lot more leeway today than there was a few years ago. We talked about that earlier. So we're just hitting the feasibility right now. And the idea is during that feasibility is that we're going to look at, lot maximum, square footage, all that stuff. Make sure it aligns with the municipal codes. And we're also going to create 3D models of their concept, all within the feasibility phase. And
how long is this feasibility for this?
I think this is going to surprise most of the listeners, but I can run the first phase. We have 2 phases of feasibility, but the first phase I can get done in about 2 weeks.
That's pretty quick.
It's very quick.
You're checking in with the cities, and I'm guessing you've already done quite a bit of work and research with the city pre this contract.
Yeah, we do some early due diligence on a discovery call, but we're not getting into detailed consultant work when that's phase 2, and we're not involving the architect just yet. I was fortunate enough to sign, well, I say sign loosely, but I was fortunate enough that I've been collaborating with AOME Architects, which big fan of those guys that have brought their creative juices. The one thing that they were really excited about working with us is we're both design driven, but more importantly is they're dealing with 20,000 square foot homes. I mean, big, giant projects. And they have junior architects that, need work. And so this is a perfect kind of micro project for them
kind of an
to
experiment
jump on.
For them, yeah.
And
And one that they're highly capable of doing.
Yeah,
but just
100%.
Different direction.
Yeah. So we're servicing kind of that younger, up-and-coming professional in the design field, which is kind of cool to think about it. Like, hey, I can help you hone your craft, So
forge a new path.
Yeah, exactly. So
tell me a little bit about the client, and their motivation.
The client we just signed, they've got a teenager in school right now, and they bought a property, an investment property. They just finished building a house on the property, and their goal, and it's funny because the first question that I asked them when I was out at site visit was, I said, are you guys going to live in the DADU? Are you going to live there? No, we're going to live in the home. And I said, well, do you envision yourself living in the DADU? And they had a hard time kind of answering that question. And the reason I asked that question was because I wanted to land on what was their inspiration for the DADU. Do you want to build the DADU as if it's a place where you're going to age in place or somewhere where you're going to eventually live? Doesn't mean you can't rent it out. But is it a place where, you see yourself living at some point? And when I finally phrased it that way, they were like, yes, we'll probably live in the DADU. And I said, then let's build it the way you want to build it. And then renter comes in. It is what it is. You can rent it out, do what it is. But now you've got a space that you can look forward to living in.
Right. Yeah. Something that, they've already picked out their future home, their retirement home in the future.
Yeah.
So to me, it might be obvious, but for the listeners, what are the differences when you're designing that DADU for them now that they've established it as a rental today, but we're moving into the future? What are some design elements and differences that are occurring now?
Well, first of all, we're a design first firm, and so we're not looking to build. I mean, nothing against tough sheds, but we're not trying to build a tough shed.
Sure.
And throw a couple families in there. And unfortunately, some investors have bad reputations for just popping up structures and, not really giving it thoughtful design. And so we are focused on doing something a little bit different. And if you check out our site, dreamdadu.com, DADU, you'll see some of these 3D aspirational models that we've created. And the reason why we did that was because we wanted to show people that you don't have to have a ugly structures in your backyard. And I think ultimately that's what a lot of residents in their neighborhood are afraid of. And we all love to call them NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Like, I'll vote for it, but just don't do it next to me.
Sure.
And the reason, the optics behind that is that they're afraid that these structures are going to go up and they're just going to kind of degenerate the neighborhood. And we don't have to approach it that way.
No, it seems like you're going in there. You want something that's going to stand a test of time,
enhance and add value.
Yeah,
for sure, 100%
add value. I love that. And then also, you're probably asking them questions on some of their habits and how they live and where you want to place things.
That's exactly what we're doing. And how important is it? Do you want your own garage? Do you want your because, oh, by the way, cities see garages these days when you're building a DADU, they see it as free space. They're not penalizing you for it. So they will penalize you for heated space, in terms of percentage of property. But, I could get real technical on it, but I'm not going to.
It's fine.
I'm not going to. I think ultimately things have changed so much, and they're constantly changing. A week from now, things might be a little bit different. But just understanding that and understanding what you can and can't do in the cities puts you one step ahead of just a regular general contractor that says, oh, by the way, I can build you a DADU. They have to kind of do their own due diligence when we have the trove of information at our fingertips because we've put in the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's, getting back to thoughtful design is that, our goal with every client is we're going to build them a beautiful space, and we're also going to pro forma their property and look at the marketplace and let them know and lay out how much more value that is going to be to the space. And that's the financial piece.
Yeah, exactly.
And so understanding that as a current, past and current investor, I think gives us a little bit of a leg up versus, hey, just call the architect, design it, and just give it to me when you're ready to build, which is a typical, general contractor approach.
What I like about the DADU and what you're doing, you're obviously forging way, very thoughtful, methodical. I can guarantee you're going to do nice materials, and because you want to build something that's there to last and uplift that neighborhood.
That's a great built to last. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good book too.
Yeah, it is. But there's other elements with these DADUs on these properties, because I'm talking to some builders and investors, people that are doing something similar are starting to condominiumize.
That's a great question.
These properties, and which is not necessarily the same thing as doing lot line adjustments and whatnot, but you're creating different tax parcel numbers on the property, and you're able to leverage different loans on each particular building depending on your financial goals and savviness of what you want to do for the future.
Yeah, and it's a thick forest to walk through to really understand how that's done. I mean, I know our attorney his checklist is probably over 3 pages of things that he has to do to lot split or deparcelate or condoize. Mm-hmm. That's not even a term in Webster's dictionary, but it seems to flow, so that's why I use it. But in
the Urban Dictionary,
it's probably in there. Yeah, maybe it's in the Urban Dictionary. But that process, and that's why that HB 1096 is out with lot splitting. That process is really critical to refinancing that property or financing that property. And that's how we get to 100% financing, is we have to deparcelate the property. Now, for any listeners that are listening to this and going, oh, no way, I don't want to deparcelate the property, that's going to lower the value of my property. That is actually opposite of what happens. What ends up happening is now you've got 2 properties. Mm-hmm. So you automatically raise the value of your whole property. Mm-hmm. And you may not want to sell now, but you might want to sell 20 years down the road. I mean, if you think about it, selling 2 properties is always better than selling 1.
Yeah, that's true.
And so,
in my experience, while they're allowing you to do this now, you better take care. Maybe it's in your best interest to deparcelate now, because it doesn't mean you have to sell.
No,
but they might change the rules down the road where you're not able to deparcelate.
Yeah,
and you lost out on that.
Now's
timing.
the time.
Yeah,
for sure. But the other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is that when you're talking about deparcelization, how does that impact the mortgage company? Mm-hmm. So just say, for example, you have a 3% mortgage, which there's a lot of folks out there that are locking and loading with their 3%.
They are.
Thank you, housing shortage, on inventory. But if you think about how the mortgage company is going to treat that, or the homeowner's going to treat that, most of them are going to say, well, I don't want to deparcelate because I got to refinance the whole thing, and it's going to be, high 6s now, and that's going to cost me more money. Well, that's not necessarily the case, because mortgage companies are now looking at these things a little bit different. So if we as a company, Dream DADU, can show the mortgage company that we're providing more value and give them an additional refinance, they can maintain their current mortgage at 3% and turn around and finance the new one at the current market rate.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not losing anything.
No.
And so I think that's kind of a misconception out there, but we're figuring it out, and we're figuring it out quickly. And so it's an exciting thing to watch happen. But like you said, there's a window before, and I'd say this window's 5 to 7 years before there's going to be some additional regulation and money grabs the municipalities.
Right now, they're really friendly and want to take off.
Right.
You know, you're listening to the show Made of More. I'm your host, Chris Erdmann, and we got Toph Via here from Dream DADU. Stay tuned after these messages.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdmann. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Wherever you go, Alternative Talk 1150 is here for you.
Welcome back to the show Made of More. I'm your host, Chris Erdmann, and I'm sitting here with Toph Via from Dream DADU, or with Dream DADU. And we were just talking that and celebrating that with these new housing changes, that Toph actually got his first client here in Renton area, right?
Yep.
And they're going through the feasibility. And we've just been talking about different loan strategies and ways to deparcelate and creating more value for your property. Because a lot of people out there think maybe when you deparcelate or split up your property, you could be making it worth less. But the contradiction of that, Toph and I really agree. You're actually increasing your property value right there.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, for the listeners too, just to clarify, this may be my first client, but this isn't my first rodeo on this. We've butted up against a lot of these regulations in our own developments and investing, that now we just have the blessing of having someone, you know, a client saying, "Hey, we want to do business with you," because this is a new brand. This is a new niche that we've decided to pursue.
Yeah, and you've been in the real estate industry for how long?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years, and
Yeah.
and he's also been experienced in flipping houses in the past and other builds and whatnot, and dealing with money. So he's no stranger to this game. So he's coming in with over 20 years of experience and bringing in other professionals. What was the architect's name that you brought to this project?
And I'll do a shout out. It's Mark Elster and Joey, and they are from AOME. Joey Osborne, sorry. Mm-hmm. They're from AOME Architects in Seattle. So great team. And
they're known for doing bigger homes, high end, bigger projects, and so they're taking this skill that they have of this thoughtful architecture and packaging it down into these DADUs. What's the average size of DADU that you'll end up building?
Well, there's limitations per city, so it's a great question. But I think it's probably going to sit around the 1,000 square foot mark, mm-hmm. which it doesn't seem like it, but you can accommodate a lot in 1,000 square feet.
Oh, I've seen 3-bedroom homes in 1,000 square feet.
You can do a lot. And the nice thing is some cities have height maximums as high as 35, 40 feet. So you can put another story on there and build up.
Is that for this particular case, that 1,000 square feet, is that the footprint or is that total square footage for the?
Well, I'd say that was probably, you asked about average, I would say that was probably an average, but you can, without getting too complicated on it, a lot of times with the code regulations, the ordinances right now, they look at two things when you're building a DADU in terms of size. One of them is what they call a floor area ratio, and that has to do with the principal residence. So if that residence is 1,000 square feet, I'm just making that up, and they have a 40% FAR, and that means you can build a 400 square foot DADU. Now, there's very few cities that are pursuing that avenue. What's becoming more common is energy, and so the energy, they're looking at heated and non-heated spaces. So they're allowing you to build as much unheated space as you want. So that'd be like a garage. So you could build a 15, just like a home, it's not being counted in the square footage, but you could build a home, in some cases you can build 2,000 square foot DADUs that,
it's bigger than most homes.
Yeah, you can.
So you don't have to think tiny home or small living when you're thinking DADU.
No, and we're not going to put tires on it, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, I think these are great things to reveal here because a lot of people think DADU means tiny homes, which they don't.
Yeah, no, it's not tiny homes. In fact, they classify it loosely as cottage homes, mm-hmm. but the way there's really 11. I'm not going to go over all the 11 sections of middle housing, but there's 11 types of housing, mm-hmm. including multifamily and stuff, and duplexes and stuff. But the way they're classifying DADUs are kind of like cottage housing, but they're labeling cottage housing as if it's a community. It's a development focus. So cottage housing, I'm going to put 4 or 5 smaller cottages on this property. But in order to do that, I have to create a community space. So it's very much like a short plat.
Yeah, short plat. Yeah. Platting this out. And
yeah.
And you have open space. And
yes.
And which is could be a pretty long process. Yeah.
It can be. And then when you're developing.
This process could be easily a year and a half, what you're talking about, to get the permission to do that.
If you're doing a development, if you're doing an infill type situation.
It could be a lot quicker.
Which we're not doing a lot of. I mean, that's not our focus right now. Maybe eventually it will be, but if you're asking about how long a DADU would take, 9 to 12 months by the time you go through feasibility and design and all that stuff. So that's my best guess.
And so just to clarify for your technique, is this is stick built, you're building it on lot, or is this going to be modular and you're bringing out panels?
No, currently we're not doing modular because we're doing kind of bespoke custom type designs. I'm not saying that that's not the future of building DADUs, but when you go modular, I think the thoughtfulness of the design can be reduced pretty significantly. I think the key for companies like us that are building DADUs is really understanding how to utilize materials more efficiently. And, modular is one of those ways, but using materials that might not be used in a regular home, but that are more appropriate for a DADU, but still yield the same quality.
He's getting another call for a sale to come in, so that
there's another one. Sorry about that.
Second client there. So
I'll go on silent.
So we've been talking current, and this is really exciting, and it's really easy to see for myself and the listeners. Like, you know what you're talking about. You're really invested in this. Like, You're somebody that people should be interviewing if they're thinking about building a DADU. No question there. Let's talk about what's going to be happening here in the future. What's your vision for Toph and also Dream DADU for the future?
Well, I mean, I always say this sounds a little harsh, but I always say projections are garbage because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
But I will say that we are, in terms of Dream DADU, my goal is to build a company that is touching through two things. One of them on the thoughtful design and the design process and being design first. I got to be honest with you. That's something that is passionate to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own
design
passion.
first.
Design first.
Mm-hmm. That's
my passion. But because that's my passion, I can parlay that over into creating better spaces for people, which is great. And that's what keeps me motivated. What's needed in the community is affordable housing. And so that's why we decided to add that layer to Dream DADU. So I think where we're going to see this go is I think we're going to see a lot of that happening. Just a good example, I have a potential client. She's trying to sell her property in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. She's waiting for that to happen. She's a teacher, mm-hmm. She's not a high income earner. And the 100% financing program works for her perfectly. And it'll be an aging in place, multi-generational type of situation with her and her kids. Mm-hmm. And it's a good fit. And I think there's going to be more people gravitating towards that. But there's the things that, will wake me up or, get me excited is the ones where we can really put some thought into the design.
Yeah.
And so I think there's two needs and we're trying to address both. And ultimately I want my kids to be able to own real estate. So that was a very, very important thing for me to include. And this was influenced by my family. My family had a big say in this. And interestingly enough, and I'm just going to put a little plug in here.
Sure.
Is I'm a member of the Master Builders Association of King and Snohomish Counties, and they have a nonprofit thing called Ramp Up, and Ramp Up is about building ADA ramps for folks that can't normally afford them. Right. And so we are going to be starting our volunteer work for that as well. And the cool thing about that is, what a great thing, what a great gift to give to your aging parent who may be, a little older and, kind of slower and harder to get up the stairs. It's funny, I told my wife when we were retiring, I said, I just want a one-level home. That's all I want. I don't want to go up and down stairs. But to be able to do that and build those ramps. So we want to focus on, with the retirement of the baby boom generation, we want to focus on helping
taking care
folks,
of our elders.
taking care of them.
Wow.
So I think that'll probably be near future than far in the future. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Dream DADU? It's going to be a fun journey.
I love your open mindset and that you came full circle. It's like the book The Alchemist. He went out to go find the treasure, and then he came back, and he realized when he was out there, he realized the treasure was always back where he started.
It's right there.
And I think a lot of us go through that in life, and it's just like, I hope we all get to experience that to some degree.
I hope so too. I hope my kids get to experience. I hope your kids get to experience, or your daughter.
Yeah,
so
it's just one of the beauties of life. I got two more questions to ask you here.
All right.
So the show is called Made of More. I brought you here because I see a lot of qualities in you that you are always showing that you are made of more, and it goes to some of the stories in your past, and then also thinking bigger and about others. What does the phrase made of more mean to you?
That's a great question, Chris. I think made of more is really about, we have our public self and we have our private self.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could just spend a little more time getting our private self out to our public self and be proud of who we are. Mm-hmm. We all have skeletons in the closet at some level, but that's what circles back to the beginning of this conversation about authenticity.
And vulnerability.
And that's when I hear made of more, it's when you're able to when you meet somebody like that, like when I met you, is it's not just about the fact that you have great hair, Chris. You have awesome hair, by the way.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I do.
I have no hair.
Yeah. Well, so, you do it well.
Well, I try to keep it.
And you accessorize with cool accessories like
the glasses. There you go. Thank you. This is a little pandering right now, isn't it? Okay, whatever. But it's not about that. It's about, that's not what initially, got me attracted to you as a man and as a friend. And it's more about what's coming out of your mouth, what's coming out of your heart, what you're doing, how you're implementing or manifesting that in your work life and in your personal life. And I think you and I just don't talk enough about that stuff. And I think that's what Made of More means. It means, like, can you take the extra time to discover that about somebody? Because there's always more.
There's always more.
There's always more. And it's 99% of the time, it's always better than the public sees you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really is.
The best, somebody told me the other day, the best stories go untold. I think that's Jackson.
That's totally appropriate. Yeah.
And that's what I hear you saying is that vulnerable, authentic side. Like, we don't put that out there enough.
No, because we're afraid to. We're afraid we're going to get rejected.
Yeah, that for our authentic self, for our true self. Yeah. Wow, that's I'm going to carry with this one going here, but I appreciate you just doing that. I also want to know for the listeners, what is the best way for everybody to find you and reach out to you?
Usually at the clubs. No, just playing. No, I'm never at the clubs.
We're talking about the gym.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gym, okay. Pickleball. No, DreamDADU.com. It's DreamDADU.com. If what we talked about, sparks a little interest in you and you want to find out more, I'm best way to you can look me up on LinkedIn and connect with me there. Am I going to be giving a phone number out here?
You can give a phone number. I have people giving all kinds of things.
Okay. Well, you can text me anytime on my cell, 425-736-3292. But I'm going to ask you a favor, is nobody likes AI spam. So don't spam me. Just call me or text me and ask me how I'm doing, and I'm more than happy to have any conversation to help you out in whatever you're doing.
There you go. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I appreciate you giving everybody the way to find. We could. I know we could talk hours about real estate and DADUs, ADUs, and future projects. If we had a little bit more time, I'd get that Northwest MLS out and the assessor site, and we'd start combing through everything. And we should pick up this conversation again. And I would love to follow up with you. Maybe in 6 months to a year from now on the show. Hopefully I talked to you before then.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it would be nice to follow your journey and maybe get to see what this DADU looks like in the future.
Yeah.
But I just want to say congratulations on
Thanks, Chris.
Opening this new business and having bravery at this part of your life, like to start something new.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun ride, and we're open to all kinds of things. So give us a call and hopefully we can help you out. Even if you just say, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing something and it's, not directly related regarding real estate, just call me and I'm more than happy to help you out. I don't see that as a threat. I see it as something that if I can help you out, ultimately it's going to make us all be better. So
thank you for that. And then next is, one last question because we got a minute. Like, what does it feel like to turn your career one more time? Past midlife. You're past midlife, Chris.
Well, okay. I will answer that question very simply. In order for me to do this, I had to have my wife agree that we could build a treehouse Airbnb in Langley, Washington, which we are currently embarking on. So that was something that I really wanted to do. And she says, okay, let's do that. You can start your own company, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it was just something I wanted to do. So it takes a little bit of finesse with your life partner.
There you go. Well, as we're ending the show here, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to drive over here through the traffic and share your story with everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Made of More on KKNW. Whether you're on the road, at the office, or listening from home, keep chasing what lights you up, keep building what matters, and never settle for less than the life you were made for. You are made of more. More purpose, more impact, more joy. Made of More is part of the Speaking Current network of shows and podcasts, all of which that are dedicated to inspiring listeners to build lives of meaning, connection, and value. You can find the Speaking Current network of shows, including Made of More, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us on YouTube. Until next Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I'm Chris Erdmann. Stay bold, stay inspired, and stay made of more.